Dang it. We're keeping that in. Well, it is an epic. Somebody's excited with their car, and that is just like so in line with the story that I'm telling today. But first off, I'm bald now. This is to do the best that I can to handle the mites that, or the lice, or nits. I really don't know what it is. The situation that has befallen into my life. And this is the most ruthless thing that I can think I can do if there's something living in my head without me knowing what it is or how to get it out. So, the epic story that I want to tell you today is a foundational story. It's 2010 in I believe, the first car accident that I was ever in. Somebody just rang the doorbell. I hope that my dad answers it. The first car accident that I was ever in. It was during the Super Bowl in 2010, February 8th. So I would have been 15, I believe, at the time. And incidentally, the day before this Super Bowl Sunday, the day before this crazy car accident, I posted my first singing YouTube video ever called Girl in My Dreams. I linked it down below for those of you that are going to check it out. Man, little epic Eric. So here's what happened with this story, and it is a story that shook my parents to the core, that I've got lapses of memories from. So let's get right into it. I was invited by a friend of mine, Tim, in town, who I grew up with in a Russian community. And he had invited me to hang out with him and some of his friends over at his parents' place, watch the Super Bowl on the giant big screen. Now, at this time of my life, I didn't get to watch much TV. In my life, we didn't have many electronics until, I guess I did in 8th grade. That was 8th or ninth grade. That's besides the point. Being able to see the Super Bowl was a huge deal. And in Canada, we get a learner's license as the first license that you are permitted to get when you're 15 years old. So my friend Tim, who I'm watching the Super Bowl at his house with, and a bunch of his friends, he had just got his learner's license. And on top of that, he had just bought a new car from his brother, Volkswagen. And so during the halftime show of the Super Bowl, Tim and a few of his friends, they go, man, we should go get the Xbox that was so-and-so's up the road from the house. And initially it was just going to be two of them that I recall. And then as the idea of them going to get the Xbox kind of went around the room between different people with these teenagers or preteens, whatever we were, it just fell together that 5 of us would pile up in Tim's new little car and go get the Xbox, race right back down. Man, was that what we thought would happen and not what occurred. So we got in the car and I was behind the driver's seat. And this tiny little Volkswagen Golf, I believe it was, like a 90-something. And the road that surrounds the house, there are many windy roads that you can drag race on. And my friend Tim, who just got his learner's license, which you do need to have by law, you need to have a fully licensed person with you to be able to drive. But at that age, and in the thinking that we had, we were just going to go get the Xbox and come right back. Right? That's what 15-year-olds like. It's just, that's what it is. It was not good thinking that we had is what I look at and understand now. Now, the thing that everyone in the car found out was that the driver, Tim, was really becoming In fact, he was adamant about drag racing. And he seemed to be quite good at it. As we were speeding along these roads, Tim was pulling the e-brake and getting some really fine, nice drifts in around corners. It felt really exhilarating and adrenaline stimulating. And then as we were going along and time seemed to flow, this is what happened. To the best of what I remember. We were going down this road, I believe it's Lynx Road. And I just vividly recall seeing in front of me the road and a curve to the right. And then, for my experience, that is the first time I can remember having a blackout memory. It just, the next thing that I knew after seeing this road in front of me and hearing the song by Lil Wayne, A Milli, on the radio, the next conscious memory I have is very blurry, headachy, dazed and confused, confusion, as though almost when I look at the memory in my mind right now that I have, it is synonymous with a dream. It is as though I had felt like I woke up in a dream and I'm confused. I don't know what happened. I'm looking at my point of view and there's blood on my right shoulder, right down here. And I'm almost not even recalling where I am, what had just happened. Similar to, being in a dream. The brain was so shell-shocked. And then as my point of view came up, and remember, I'm on the driver's side, behind the driver's seat, and I see on my left side, out the window, my friend Tim walking down a bank, and he sees that I'm beginning to become conscious, and he runs over to the window, and he, in my memory, he punches the window out, because what I found out later is the door was jammed. He punches the window and the glass, and then he pulled me out. Which, by the way, if you're in first aid, you're a paramedic, you know this is exactly not the way to deal with that. You leave people alone in case there is a spine injury. Yes. So in this car accident, Tim had pulled me out. And after that, the shock sets in. I don't remember much at all. I remember hearing sirens, and sometime after I had become conscious and my friend Tim had punched the window and then pulled me out of the car, the paramedics showed up and we were transported to the hospital. Now, the miracle of this story, the divine intervention, how God, the universe, grace really looked out for myself, for Tim, for all of the other parties that were involved, is undescribable. I ended up having a fractured shoulder in 3 places because from the impact, I had, to the best of what I can guess, I had been thrown forwards and around in the back seat, and my shoulder, my right shoulder, had pushed into the driver's seat. Boom. And it must have jarred and just got pulled so abruptly that it fractured in 3 places. The girl who was sitting beside me, she was rattled in her brain. I don't remember more of her experience beyond that. The 2 individuals in the front seats, the driver, Tim, and the one in the passenger seat, there were horse fences, okay? So in Canada, we have fences that are made of wooden beams that are about this thick. Okay? And during the accident, the part that I don't remember, but that is kind of pieced together with the information points, is that Tim had went in for a drift on the road, and there was just too much correction when he came back to pull the tail end of the car back in, because in February there is gravel on the road. So he had tried to pull the car back into correction and lost control. The car went into a tailspin at 90 kilometers an hour, supposedly. And all of us in the car went off of a ditch into one of these horse fences, as though the fence is like this, and this would be my other hand is the side of a car. We came and completely came parallel into the fence at such a speed that the fence came apart, and the beams, the wooden beams of the fence went through the passenger door. And they went through the legs. This is the part that is miraculous beyond thinking. The beams went through the legs of the passenger and the driver, above and below. When the driver, Tim, became conscious, I think that he woke up, you could say, with these fence posts between his legs. And the passenger had both of his legs broken, if I'm remembering correctly. And then there was some damage to the rear passenger side passenger as well. Now for myself, because this is the part that I want to tell the most in this story, I had the shoulder fracture, but the blood that was running down on my shoulder when I just became conscious, that occurred from a large gash that happened behind my right ear. Let me show you it, along with the tattoo I have now. Look at this. The right side of the car, the passenger side. Somewhere in that moving in motion and spinning and hitting the fence post, and then after that drifting through the ditch and hitting trees. I don't know exactly. I believe there was a large tree that we hit. So the right side of the car got smashed and a jagged point. Okay, so I'm sitting behind the driver's seat. The right side gets hit by a tree and a sharp metal point is created. The scar on my right side is from, well, I can't know for sure what happened, but my best guess is it's from just grazing the pointed metal bit. And what blows my mind beyond everything is that I didn't completely get impaled on that thing. The reason that I got angel tattooed on it, like my angel or angels, I've got to have a SWAT team on me at this point. Who knows? We can't see the supernatural. Truly, the events of that day lead me to believe that angels coordinated and moved things around just like a SWAT team would, but in a spiritual, metaphysical realm. I got the angel tattoo last year in Ixtapa, Mexico. So back to finalize the story. Everybody's rushed to the hospital. My parents, at the time, they were at a church service. So they not only heard the sirens in the distance during this church service on a Sunday evening, because church was where the value is versus the Superbowl in the culture that I grew up in. So they hear the sirens and then they get the phone call about all the individuals that have been involved. And bro, when I tell you, there faith got challenged. Yeah, it got challenged. And they, along with all the parents, everyone involved, were thankful that everybody was alive. With the just the stakes of this situation, the sheer stakes, like the speed that the car had been going at, 90 kilometers is the estimate. The turn that did not get made. And then the fact that those fence posts went through the legs of both the passenger and the driver. That I was grazed by the piece of metal and not impaled. It was nothing short of epic. And it is a huge part of my story, of my origin. Now, it would have been nice to be able to say that I learned from there and then kept going. But as you can see with all the videos on my channel, that did not happen. Very, very much a core memory for myself, though. The following weeks and months of that car accident, I was wearing a sling for my shoulder to be able to repair it. I needed to sleep in a lazy boy couch for 8 weeks so that my arm would not move while it was healing. I also wrote my second song and published it on YouTube, One Chance. You can see that in the link below. I've got to make that an actual song for like 2025 and on. So maybe you can look forwards to a studio version of it, or just acoustic with grown up Eric, who is now epic. Yeah. The Superbowl car accident. And the chances that it happened a day after my first posting of a song that I wrote. Man. I remember the girl that I wrote the song about, the girl in my dreams, because I had this sling at high school the following weeks. I remember that when she saw me, she was like so worried but thankful that I was okay. And I had the biggest crush on this chick. So like she came and gave me a hug, and that hug was my world at that time. It just was so beautiful. Yeah. Emotions, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to think if there's anything more to the story that I can add to it. If there is, I'll just drop it in another video. That's the core memory for Epicworld today. What a memory it is reliving it. Here's one little important part. When they were dealing with us all in the hospital, they had to cut the clothes off of each of us. And so my favorite shirt at the time, you can see it in the Girl of My Dreams video. It's purple Aeropostale shirt. And they cut it up straight through. Well, my mom ended up sewing it back together because she knew that that's my favorite shirt at the time. So I had that shirt much longer after that car accident. But now, when I look at it, what I do hope that I possess is wisdom for my own driving, for being able to teach my kids from my experiences, and scars. I got a scar and an angel tattoo. Okay, we're gonna leave it at that. Appreciate you being here. My name is Epic, and this is Epicworld. I'll see you in another video, okay? Peace out.